if we were to sell today, I still think I'm here, and I want to help drive Health-Ade success within a larger partnership.
This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs of Playbook, and I have Daina Trout, and she's about to give birth as the CEO and co-founder.
We got the stirrups here.
That's it. Health-Ade Kombucha, one of my favorite drinks, which I almost spilled. But anyway, I have 3 daughters, as you know, and I have them all over my office. But I think whether you're a boy or a girl, it's important to understand the journey of how do you create not only a successful brand, but you have a successful company. And those are 2 different things. A lot of people see a brand that's recognizable, it's top of its class, but yet they're not a successful company. You somehow are carrying a baby and have one of the most successful rising companies in a very competitive space. And not only do you have a powerful brand, but you have a successful company. Talk me through the journey of where that started.
Cool. Thanks for the compliment, by the way.
It's true.
And I don't do it alone, but yeah, it is a lot. And it started, Health-Ade started about 7 years ago, but I think it's appropriate to bring up, that before that, a lot of things drove me to entrepreneurship. So I grew up with a family actually not too dissimilar from yours, or at least from your daughters. I have 3 sisters and a really tight-knit, hardcore, loving family. We moved around the world a lot, and I think that drove me to understand, change was okay. And I was open-minded and a little bit resilient, because every 3-4 years we moved to like super different places in the world. Saudi Arabia, for example, to Toronto.
Do you think that travel beyond the resilience and the change and not limiting your point of entry, one of the things, I didn't travel till late in my life because I grew up in a completely different family, right? 5 boys, 1 girl, single mom,
Wow.
Crazy and dysfunctional stuff going on, but no travel. But when I started to travel, it really enhanced my entrepreneurship, because what I found was that I was watching different businesses in different countries and cultures and energy, and then applying it when I got back into my own idea of how we should be doing things.
Yeah. For sure. I think new experiences and new ways of seeing things, which is sort of what you see when you travel, are absolutely critical to, approaching a business from scratch, which really is what it takes to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, I think it's huge. It's not like you need it to do it, but I think all that stuff ends up serving you later in life. And that's why I brought it up as like an important part of my story, because I think I do kind of handle change a little better than most. And I think that's been a really important part of the story. And that probably is from all that change, like playing soccer in Saudi Arabia versus Toronto. Like, I have to learn things fast. And I
love the way you phrase change, though, because a lot of people would say, I learned a lot from the lessons and failures and successes that I have, but yours is non-conditioned or judgment on, I faced a lot of change, right?
Yeah.
There was no conditions put on it. It was just a change of circumstance.
Change of circumstance. It's kind of like a new game. You
Yeah.
got to learn how to play a new game. And I'm an achiever. That's sort of what drives me. I like to meet and hit goals and like excel. So for me, it was more the challenge of, okay, how do I excel in this new place? And I think that that sort of motto, I guess, is really what, for me, entrepreneurship was all about. It was basically nonstop problem solving in the beginning and figuring it out, and essentially applying all your intuition, whatever skill sets you brought with you from the past. You might have some gaps. You will have some gaps. We certainly didn't have a background in entrepreneurship or beverage or anything even related to business. But you have enough, and somehow that's enough. For our story, it was. And I would say for us, the story really started on grit for us. So just to bring you back to Health-Ade, 7 years ago, Justin, my husband, my best friend Vanessa, and I were all equally feeling unfulfilled in our corporate jobs. Though we were doing somewhat well, some of us were moving pretty high up in the companies. We all felt like this entrepreneurial itch to start something on our own terms. That was really the drive. So I think a lot of people might see my background. I went to graduate school for nutrition and So I have this sort of medical and health background. A lot of people assume that I had this vision, I was going to be the kombucha queen.
I thought so.
But it's not really true. I'm into health. I'm into wellness. I'm into cooking real food and eating real food. That's always been a passion, always will be. I learned how to make kombucha back in grad school, along with kefir, yogurt, sauerkraut, whatever I would have sprouting on my counter that week. To me, it was all real food, and I loved it. But we started the business because we were passionate about building something on our own and on our own terms, and building a brand and a company that would make us proud. I had some experience in leadership in my previous job, and I think I really knew I wanted to lead that company. So that was what drove us to start Health-Ade. We had a crazy opportunity to start selling something in a farmer's market. We had 4 weeks to figure it out. It just sort of landed on my kombucha because that was the thing we could make in that time period without foregoing the opportunity. So it was a bit of a game time decision. And we kind of never looked back. I mean, we approached it thinking, okay, let's see what we can learn this summer. Maybe this will just be a summer project. Whatever money we'll make, we'll put toward a larger entrepreneurial effort. Not really sure how it would go. And but that summer had a very different story for us.
What perspective do you have, with all the change in travel and the family structure, but yet you have a faith, what stands out to the story is like, I had no idea this was going to work. It was kind of just a project. And I'm fortunate enough in my life here, I get exposed to so many businesses, and it's truly the people that kind of have gotten out of their own way instead of having like this strict, well-developed plan.
Yeah.
Instead, they trust the skills, knowledge, and desire that they had, you, your husband, and best friend.
Yeah.
And you allowed things to happen.
Yeah.
And then they happen better than you anticipated. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, two things just to respond. First, it didn't just like happen. I mean, we applied a ridiculous amount of effort and hustle and grit to the effort. So once we landed on, we're going to do this, let's sell kombucha, let's see how this goes. It wasn't like, we're going to show up lackadaisically on Sunday. No, we were like, every freaking person at that market tried our kombucha. I mean, you were not allowed to pass by our booth without trying it, right? So there was an element of hustle that I cannot underestimate here in, I think, the story of our success in the beginning. So there's that piece, but I think the other piece that you mentioned is really critical, is not being too married to a particular plan or an idea, because that beginning stage is all about falling off the horse and getting back on it as fast as you can, and as many times as you can. I actually think the winners of the beginning of the entrepreneurial game are just the ones that get back on the horse.
Great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think as your company grows, that's not the key to success for every stage, but that hustle piece, at least for us, was the beginning of our story.
Which is why my best piece of advice to entrepreneurs is stay in business.
Yeah.
Just as long as you stay in business,
I agree.
Right? It doesn't matter. It's interesting because I believe in a 3-stage process, which you articulate so well. 1, the law of Goya, right? Get off your ass.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Cool.
That's the first one. And you're like, wait, hold on a second. I'm not a woo-woo person. I didn't allow this to happen. But there is a law of attraction in there that you put out all the energy, all the force, all the ideas, and then you kind of allow, attraction has action in it, but you see what is attracted back.
Yeah.
And then I believe the stage you're in now is more law of surrender, which is you have all this big opportunity and only little capability as you're a growing company, right? And so you have to make more critical decisions. You went through the more persistent part of it, but now you have to actually have a hyper aggressive activity called surrender, which is, man, how do I go make sure it's capitalized correctly, building on what we've already built. It's kind of like that scene in The Greatest Showman, if you've ever seen that movie, which you probably would love, right? It's like, oh my God, you're going to do that? You're going to risk everything that we've built.
Yeah.
And then Hugh Jackman says, how do you think I got here?
Yeah.
That's where I see the Health-Ade brand right now is, wow, you guys have built a lot. Let's talk about that part of it.
Okay.
As it evolved. You obviously kind of built a brand because of the successes that you had in baby steps and challenges and changes and all of that. But now we don't talk a lot in the entrepreneurial side of you're about really 3 years in, but it's been 7 years in totality. Is that would that be fair as far as full distribution?
Yeah, I mean, we started selling in stores a year and a half in, so I'd say it's more like 5 years.
5 years in. And before I get to that last part, actually, Talk me through the biggest challenge of those 5 years.
I think in general, there are two major themes for me when people ask me the question of the biggest challenge. First is manufacturing. So we experienced super high growth. A part of that was we came in at the right time. A part of that was we're turbo mode people and just, put it in the red right away and responded to the growth. So that growth, though, very positive and exciting, tripling every year. Okay, yay. There's a whole other side to growth, which is actually supplying that demand. And especially when you manufacture it yourself, you're talking about scaling the way you make your product, basically constantly in an effort to meet that demand efficiently. And as we expand into new stores, they require new things, lower costs, more volume, more customization. And so your capabilities have to increase just as quickly as you're growing. So I think that side of growth that people don't talk about, it has been a really big part of this journey, which is how do you keep up with it? So
what about the capitalization side?
Then there's the capital side, right? So obviously when you're tripling in a year, you're probably going to have capital needs, especially if you're manufacturing, because a stainless steel tank, is not a $5 object, right? Like our filling line we just installed was a $8 million filling line. So capitalization was a huge part of our story. We have investment from 3 groups that have supported us along the way. But we've had to raise around every year. So as an entrepreneur, part of my story has been navigating growing a company, which I really respect you understand the difference between what it takes to build a brand and what it takes to build a company. And both really are critical for ultimate success. And then managing essentially how you supply the funding for that. And that can actually be a really time consuming and energetically depleting thing when you're trying to do all of those. So yeah, that's a huge part of our story. I would say that was a challenge, and it was especially a challenge because of manufacturing. So that's one. And then the second thing I would say is the personal growth it's taken. I didn't come into this having started a business before. So stepping into, the big girl pants, I say a lot, I have to do just as fast as we're growing. Like let's say we're growing 6 to 8 times the category right now. I feel like that means I have to grow 6 to 8 times what's normal, personally, and so does the business.
So you decided to get pregnant in between there too.
So I decided to have a second kid.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Of course, life will only give you what you can handle. One of the questions that I get a lot is, when do I take money? And so you're successful right out of the bat.
Take money off the table, you mean?
No, that'll be the second question. When do you raise money?
Oh.
Would you have like a golden rule, from your experience of when you would raise money?
I have one experience, which is only Health-Ade. I think, but as I watch and observe other companies around me, I see there is no right way to do it. So we had to get money pretty early on because we started the business with $600 and no assets.
That's so awesome.
Okay, so really cool cowboy style story. The downside of it is we had to raise money when we were doing $500,000 in revenues, and so our first round, was like half our company diluted, right?
So your investors love you.
Our investors love us. But they took the risk in the beginning too, right? So it could have gone a different way. It didn't in this case. Great, we're all going to win, and the pie should be super big now that we're growing this fast. The hope is that we all win.
Yeah.
But I watch other companies who took a slower approach, maybe got to half our revenues in twice the time, but didn't have to focus too much on capitalization as a result. So really we're able to build a business and culture that they fully controlled and that growth didn't impact. So I watch them sometimes with envy as they are able to get like a $30 million line of credit because they've had EBITDA positive growth, continuous organic growth over the years. And I envy them because I'm like, well, I can't fucking get $10,000 in a line of credit, you know, because we're just like fast. And these old school banks are a little bit like incapable of figuring out how to deal with people like us. In tech, it's a little different.
Always have been.
Yeah. So, I mean, now to this point, we've had no problems. We have some great niche banks that help us. But in that beginning stage, we had no choice.
Right.
So I think really the answer to answer that question, how do you do it? First, you got to recognize what situation are you in? You may not have all things available to you that others do. But in general, I would try to get debt as much as possible. and try to drive revenues as much as possible, because as soon as you involve investors, you're now inviting other players to the boardroom and to the decision room, and that's going to slow and complicate things a little bit. And then also it dilutes you. So
Right, of course. And that's the biggest fear that I have for entrepreneurs is when they need the money, sometimes they give up the entire company and they don't have the situational knowledge the first time around. And I was curious for your answer because I've seen a lot who I've counseled that I said, don't take the money because you're going to end up not owning your own company and getting kicked out by your own board. But one of the things that I'm impressed by you.
Luckily, that hasn't happened to me.
No, it won't. One of the things that I'm impressed is that a big mistake of entrepreneurs is their new first first business, successful entrepreneurs is they're in love with their product and it consistently gets in their way where I can tell even the way you started the company, it wasn't about the product, right? You respect your product. You know, it's a great product, the best of breed product, and we'll give it all the compliments in the world. But I love the fact that you're not in love with your product, that this is a business and it's about creating shareholder value.
Yeah.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. I think the thing I do love is my company.
Right, which is fine because that's incorporates the people, right?
Yeah.
Which you should do. Okay, it's always not enough time. So now we get to that last part now, right? So now you're successful. Where do you see the company going? I mean, here you are pregnant. You're about to have a baby the next week, I imagine. What's the plan here moving forward?
Okay, so it was always the vision from the beginning. I think we alluded to us being turbo move type of people. We always, once we knew we were going to do Health-Ade and we quit our jobs to do it, it was we were going to get in every fridge in America. What we didn't have the vision for is how that was going to happen or what that was going to look like, and we didn't have the experience to help us. But I think in some ways was our best asset.
Nice.
So it's still the same thing. It's still the same end vision. I want kombucha to be in every fridge in America. Still 80% of people don't even know what it is. I mean, obviously we live in a pocket of California where I think it's probably higher, but our goal is just to continue to drive awareness of kombucha and of course drive awareness to our brand and hopefully switch some of those carbonated soft drink drinkers. I'll take 10% of the $71 billion category to come to a healthier option that still is, delicious and bubbly, but offers some benefit too in function. So that's our goal for kombucha. But Health-Ade was always named as an enterprise to represent better for you beverage. And I think our goal is to expand past kombucha too in the future and be a name, an enterprise that represents better beverage. And who knows, maybe a really large, awesome company can partner with us one day and we can distribute to every corner of the world. So we've still got really big visions and the turbo mode style. But I think you're right. The entrepreneur startup phase has completed. And now we're really in a sophisticate, our systems and people, we've outgrown a lot of our systems and people. So we're making those difficult changes to essentially create an even better company that will, service that next level of growth. That's where we're at.
Now, last question. The company exits with Coca-Cola at $2 billion, let's say. What do
Sweet.
you do
Where do I sign?
Right. Good. I'll help you. Well, what do you do next?
I'm just kidding. I think a lot of people incorrectly think that a sale means an exit. So for me, I don't have, I'm a little bit still in my dream job here. And I think there's still a lot that I have to accomplish. And I want to accomplish. It's hard. And at this particular moment, it's hard because I'm taking on all kinds of different roles, with motherhood being probably the most pressing. So let's just say that's behind me. There's a lot more to do. So if we were to sell today, I still think I'm here and I want to help drive Health-Ade success within a larger partnership.
And if they say no, would you sell?
I don't know. That's hard to say. I'm not sure I would say yes yet.
All right, good.
Not today. But if you're talking about way down the line, do I want to do this forever? I don't know. It's hard for me to say.
You're a change person. You can change your mind
I
tomorrow.
want to be a peach farmer one day.
Nice. See, that's what I'm trying to get to. Too
I
bad it's not
think-
an orange farmer. You could come
I
live down
think
here.
so. But
to
my
Irvine
husband thinks I would just hire a bunch of people to grow peaches and then tell them what to do. So
and then create a peach drink. So I'm sure something cool would happen from that.
yeah.
Oh, well, this has been incredible. I think if any young entrepreneurs are out there and you want to know how to create and scale a business, a great person to study is Daina Trout, and
Thank
she is
you.
with Health-Ade Kombucha. Try it out, especially one of my favorites here with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.